This is On the Money with Ryan Wheelis, financial advisor and the founder of Allied Wealth, offices all around the great state of Texas. We want you to know that you can get started on your own financial flight plan. There is no cost to that. You can dial the phone number, go to the website, 844-944-7555. That's 844-944-7555, or go to retirenowhouston.com. Ryan, especially here in Texas, I think we have a lot in real estate holdings. We've got a lot of great, big, huge properties here. I wanted to ask you, though, when it comes to averages, we've got some numbers in front of us. How is it looking for folks who are saving on their own when it comes to retirement, especially in different age brackets? People are always interested in that stuff. 45 to 55 years old, 55 to 65 years. How much do we have? How much should we have? What does it look like from your seat when people come into the office? Are we saving enough?
It's a mixed bag of tricks, Spike. I mean, sadly, we do our retirement master classes all over Houston, and I've had people come in here, at 65 years of age, and they've got $100,000 in credit card debt, and the house isn't paid for, and 2 finance cars, and no money saved. And it's sad to see that. The people like that are in a tough spot, and I empathize with them. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we see people that one of my largest clients, one of my favorite clients, by the way. I mean, if they hear this, they're going to know I'm talking about them. But but you won't, because I will protect their identity at all costs. But they've got $16 million. They live in the same house they bought 40 years ago. They spend about $80,000 a year, and they can't spend money. And the sad thing is that like this money they've got is going to go to people who aren't good with money, and they're going to blow it, So you get, and then you get the middle of the road folks that maybe they got, $2-3 million, and they're in good shape. Spike, it's really just a mixed bag of tricks of what we see, and I think we see that because, we're big about helping people, right? We always talk about, hey, listen, shame on us if we can't help you. Here's another example. We had some folks come in. They're both well-to-do folks, and they were just helping their kids out too much. And it kind of got out of their control a little bit, and they're $180,000 in debt and some high interest debt. And I'm like, look, guys, you're paying this much money. It was like $25,000 a year in interest. If you were not paying this interest and saving this, you would be so much further ahead. So let's pay off the debt. And they're like, Ryan, we have thought about that. You're the first advisor who's ever told us that. All right, so we sometimes use annuities, folks, for guaranteed income purposes in the office, and here at Allied Wealth, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And we were able to get them this annuity, Spike, that had a 20% bonus up front day one, okay? So we took enough money out of their 401k and then rolled it over to an IRA. We took the money out of the IRA at that time. We're paying tax on the $180,000. Yeah, it sucks. We're paying tax on it, okay? But the 20% bonus they got on the money that we used to build their long-term income bucket basically wiped out their credit card debt. So they're like, holy cow, Ryan, this is awesome. And I'm like, yeah. And so they just didn't know what they didn't know, right? And so it's just a couple of examples. Mm-hmm. So really, what we see is a mixed bag of tricks. But when it comes to some of these numbers, Spike, that you're saying, it really does highlight the fact that we're in a retirement crisis in America.
We're in a huge retirement crisis, and I think you've started to coin that phrase earlier this year, and we would really like our listeners to hear that message. One of the things that bothers me the most that I hear when we're talking with folks is say, how much are you saving in your retirement plan? And they say, well, I'm doing up to the match. And I don't care if you're 20 or 50. That's the phrase I hear most frequently. And doing up to the match is not maximizing. It's not putting in as much as you can. Here in the United States, average numbers that we have right now, 45 to 55-year-olds, the median average savings. Now, this is inside the retirement accounts, and it could be very possible that people have moved from job to job to job. But the average in the retirement account is $115,000. 45 to 55, we're looking at hopefully above $300,000 in savings. That's a $200,000 gap right there. We're coming up woefully short. Now, can you Can you understand, though, Ryan, as a financial advisor, why people might be coming up short during this time frame, 45 to 55?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this our family years or college? Yeah, what's going on during this time?
Here on the screen, I'm running a financial.
I was like, are you still paying attention to me, or are you texting something? But no.
Well, look at this. So let's say that you make $100,000 a year. Okay, and you're putting in $15,000 a year away. Okay, and if you do that for 30 years at a 7% growth rate, that turns into $1.416 million. That's a pretty reasonable number to retire on because, we should be able to generate 5% a year in revenue off that, right? So what is that? $50,000, 4 times 5 is it's about $70,000 a year in income, right? That you have off of that portfolio, plus Social Security. Now you're in a situation to where you've got enough money coming in to where you can retire, right? Because you saved enough.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I chop that number down to let's do $7,500 a year, okay, $7,500 a year over a 30-year period, that turns into $708,000. That's half the money, all right? So that $7,500 number, Spike, that's closer to a 6.5% number that people are saving when they can actually be saving a lot more than that. So I think people just don't know what they don't know. And I think people get caught up, too, with this situation to where, Ryan, I don't have enough money left over at the end of the month to save, okay? And I see that a lot, Spike. And it's like, I got all these bills. Folks, listen to me, okay? The number one bill you have is you. You got to pay yourself first, okay? And so if you're living like this, hey, Ryan, there's no money left at the end of the month to pay me. You're doing it wrong. You pay yourself first. And after you pay yourself first, whatever is left over, it goes to pay everybody else. And if you don't have enough money left over to pay everybody else, you're living too high on the hog. It's time to start cutting some stuff back. All right? It really is that simple.
It would be better to live in limit during your working years than having to live in limit in your retirement years?
Guarantee you that's better, Spike, because I can control living in limits in my working years. I can't control living in limits in my retirement years. Right? I just can't. I mean,
I do want to say, though, I sympathize and empathize with the American public. The world has gotten really expensive, hasn't it?
Right, but I just think that we're just not taught this stuff, right? Look at your 401k. You got a 401k. Okay?
Yes. Yep. All self-directed. I had to choose all the funds myself. I still don't know if I did it right.
Here's my question, okay? Tell me the last time the 401k plan retirement advisor came down to your desk and sat down with you and said, hey, bud, it's a quarterly review. It's time to talk about where we are, where we talked about where we would be, and where we talked about where you wanted to go. And let's see how we're doing.
Never.
When's the last time that happened?
Never.
And folks,
I don't even, not even an email like, hey, would you like to review this?
No.
Would you like to see how you're doing?
No.
Never.
No, it doesn't work like that. There's no 401k advisor out there, right? Because the onus of this stuff has been shifted back to the American people because the corporate America doesn't want the responsibility of the American people being able to retire on their shoulders. It's that simple, okay? And so, folks, the bottom line is this. There are 60% of the people in the country, and I believe it's actually closer to 70%, don't even seek the advice of a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And I think these numbers we're talking about here, Spike, okay, are a direct result of that, okay? And I think a lot of times people don't understand. They think the only thing a financial advisor does is investment consulting, like what bonds to pick, what stocks to pick, what mutual funds to pick, and when to change that stuff around. That is a small fraction of what we do here at Allied Wealth, a small fraction, okay? It's part of what we do for sure, but it does not encompass the total value offer we bring to the folks that we serve, all right? So the reality is, I think a lot of people just don't understand those things. And if you look at this is amazing to me, by the way. Vanguard did a study, okay, and it was a $500,000 portfolio, and I can't remember if it was a 20 or 30-year period. That's not really relevant.
I think, I can't remember, 25 or 30, something like that.
Something. It was a long period of time. And Vanguard's got this data better than anybody else, folks, because do-it-yourselfers or at Vanguard. That's where they go, right?
Yes.
But people also have their money managed professionally by advisors through Vanguard as well, okay? And what they found is over this period of time, 25 or 30 years, people that did it on their own took a $500,000 account balance, like $1.2 million, $1.4 million, somewhere in that range. But people that chose the advice of an advisor and paid the advisor's fees grew their portfolios to over $3 million, had twice the amount of money in the same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think people are they're just scared to talk with a financial advisor. And then
Right.
we've got the do-it-yourselfers out there. 9 times out of 10, it's the husband doing it. And that's awesome. Good for you. I just want to ask you this question. What's your wife going to do when you pass away? And by the way, statistically, you are going to predecease your wife. That's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
So then your wife's going to be left to deal with what stocks to pick, what bonds to pick. Does she even want to do that? So there's a lot of that out there, Spike. So, folks, that's why we do this show, ultimately, is to get the word out. We just don't know what we don't know, and we're here to serve. So to
Right.
get served, folks, is easy. Just call us. You can reach us at 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. You can go to retirenowhouston.com. Again, retirenowhouston.com. And check us out on the Money YouTube by Googling On the Money YouTube, Allied Wealth or Ryan. It'll pop up. And Spike, guess what it costs for people to talk to us?
You've had a very high inflation rate the last 2 years. I believe it's an increase of 0 times 0, correct?
Yeah, it's 0 times 0, or any number you can imagine times 0. We don't charge to sit down and talk with you and find out where you are and where we can take you.
You need to know if you are saving enough for retirement. Let's find out sooner than later. Call that phone number, 844-944-7555.